Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
And I am Zachary Patton-Garcia, and we've got two guests on today. We've got big old queer filmmaker, actor, and producer.
Yeah, that's me, Misha, Osherovich, pronouns they, them.
And the guy you know for dressing up or taking it all off.
Michael Hamm, the horn.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to have all of you here. We are here because the Buffy Halloween episode from season 2 is turning 25, which makes me feel very old. And Misha and Michael, this is both of your first time talking Buffy on the podcast.
Yeah.
Misha, do you want to give your Buffy origin story?
I mean, is that like when I started watching Buffy or whatever?
Yeah.
It was equal parts in preparation for the last time I chatted with y'all in the podcast realm, and just like in general, like wanted to like get like a sense of Buffy and the culture that y'all come from, and also the last show that I did, the last TV show that I did, is so Buffy homage in its own sort of like, you know, queer spooky way, the Girl in the Woods show on Peacock. And so I felt the need to research Buffy, but by that point I was already like a season in. And so I just binged all of Buffy in preparation to shoot a spooky TV show. So that's my origin story.
And I will say, Misha, you made me so happy because I love when I'm people's go-to to talk about Buffy. And I love that as you were binging it, you would like DM me to talk about it. It made me very happy.
Ian thrives off of that.
Yeah.
It was truly like something would happen like season 4. I'd be like, oh my God, did you? Of course I know, Misha. I'm the expert.
Hammy, my love, would you like to give us your Buffy origin as well?
Yeah, mine's a little convoluted. Have you ever had a Canadian on here?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
Okay. Did they give their Buffy origin? Because I can't find any information about when Buffy came to Canada. So I feel like my origin story is just made up in my head.
I do remember... So one of my co-hosts, Anthony Oliveira, is from Toronto. And I do remember him saying something about there was like a space in between seasons where like y'all didn't like... It didn't air at the same time it aired here. I do know that.
Okay, well, my origin might be a fever dream. I have no idea. But I remember like watching it from pretty much the beginning, if not the beginning, the Canadian beginning. So like the late 90s, it came to Canada. Okay. But it was only on really late on this like Cartoon Network kind of YTV kind of thing. And I would sneak away and watch it. And I remember my mom found out and it turned out she was watching it too. And so it was kind of this cute little moment. But then I stopped watching it because everyone at high school thought it was stupid. And fast forward a few years, I know, right? I bought all the DVDs, watched them immediately, went on a trip to go see my mom. And while we were there, we went to a comic book store and bought like a bunch of Buffy action figures. And it's never been the same since.
Oh my God, I love that. Wait,
that's fucking sweet.
That
like,
is.
That's great.
So wait, Michael, are you not from Canada? You said you went to visit your mom.
I am from Canada. Yeah.
For some reason I thought you meant your mom was like here.
She was just like traveling for work. I live in a little like buttfuck nowhere town, so she was like in the big city where I could get Buffy toys.
Yes. I actually was telling the Slayerfest 98 editor, Ashley, hi Ashley, that the reason I actually got into doing like the customs that I do for the covers is because over the years, so many people would like stumble upon an old Buffy figure from at like a Comic-Con or a like comic book shop and be like, oh, I'm gonna get this for Ian. And like, I did already have them, but I very much would be like, thank you. Like I will take more. And then I just had like a bunch of extras. And I was like, when I started this podcast, I remember telling my other co-host Matthew, like, I think I could do some like silly customs for like each season. I was going to do one per season. Clearly that's not what ended up happening, but literally just as I had a shit ton of extra Buffy figures like in my parents' basement. And I like remember coming home from New York and like taking a bunch of them with me to like paint in my kitchen in Brooklyn.
Sure.
What a very specific brag.
It's not a brag. I'm a big fucking nerd.
I just have so many Buffy toys in my mom's basement.
You're making me sweat. But I feel like the one thing I always like kind of forget is that Buffy doesn't have a Halloween episode every season. Like it only has
such a shame, isn't it?
Right? Yeah. But I do think this and Fear Itself, I think, are like top tier Halloween TV episodes in general.
You say
Um,
that, but the way you act is like this is the only one that exists. This is the only one you ever watch. This is the only one you ever talk about.
Oh my God.
I never hear you talk about Fear Itself.
Are we fighting, Zach?
We are, because I quite like Fear Itself. This is not my favorite Buffy Halloween episode, but I know you love it so much.
I think I love both of them the same, I think.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if Cordelia had been in the season 4 one, maybe that would make it my favorite. Because
Okay.
I love all the Cordelia and Willow shit in this episode. Actually, yeah. Now that we bring it up, Misha, how do you rank the Buffy Halloween episodes?
Well, so I never like to say that I understand something that I don't. I have seen all of Buffy. However,
Right.
I've only seen it through once, and I distinctly remember thinking to myself, "Oh, there's not a Halloween episode every season."
Right.
But this one is the one that sticks out in my memory only because this one's so gimmicky. What's
Yeah.
the other one? Like, what? Give me the synopsis of the other one.
The other one is they're like trapped in the frat house that was like decorated as a haunted house, but then it becomes a real haunted house.
Oh, I did like that one. I think
Yeah.
I like that one more.
And then we do have one more in season
Right.
6 that often gets overlooked, and I fairly so. That it's just, how would you describe that? More like I don't know. It's more of your Halloween fair. Like they're going to houses. There's like candy and I don't
That
know.
feels more like a sitcom Halloween episode.
Yeah, very much. It's just all about Dawn.
Yeah.
In that one.
Yeah.
Right. I do remember that one too.
Okay.
I will say this one, I appreciate that we're talking about this one because once again, I come back to the word gimmicky. Like
Mhm.
this feels like around the time, because you know how like as Buffy goes on, we get like the musical episode or like
Yeah,
the theme episodes. This is a theme episode. It didn't have to be about Halloween. It just happened to be.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like this it's like an oddly early theme episode for how much Buffy had still yet to evolve at this point.
Yeah, and I think Buffy does a theme episode really well, and you saying that, it makes me think how, like, honestly, this could have fit because almost any episode of Buffy could be a Halloween episode if you
Correct.
place it during Halloween. Hammy, what's your ranking of Buffy Halloween episodes?
Halloween is number one for me, for sure. I think I agree. Like, it's just so gimmicky and it's just so quintessential Halloween. Like, it's got the trick-or-treating, it's got the plot twist. It sets up that vampires don't come out at Halloween, even though every Halloween something bad happens anyway. And I just think all the scenes are so good.
And I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just like, did they ever explain that in this episode? Why Halloween is supposedly boring for spookies?
I don't think they ever do, right, Zach? It's kind of just like a thing that is
It's
said.
a strange thing as well, right? Because you would think that there would be more people out on the streets and more opportunities, I don't know, to suck some blood and like kill some folks, and nobody would, really think anything of it. But I guess it just is. It's just boring,
Yeah,
That's
like to
just
them.
the way it is.
That is just
to
the way
monsters,
it is.
it's tacky. Like, it's like, ugh.
Well, it's the same with cosplayers, right? Like, I don't dress up for Halloween because I'm like, I have to do this every day of the year. I'm
Really?
taking this one off.
Huh.
Yeah.
You don't dress up for Halloween?
No, I'm too busy getting everyone else's Halloween costumes ready for them.
Oh, that's fair, but
Oh.
I would love to see you pull out a Halloween costume. When's the last time you did a Halloween costume?
It was like 6 years ago. I dressed up in a full-ass Nightwing costume. No one knew who he was. I showed up to a party. Everyone was like dressed up as Ned Flanders or like the Jolly Green Giant. And I was like in this armor suit. And everyone was like, it was like the Mean Girls moment. Like I showed up and everyone was like,
Yeah.
oh, he tried.
Okay,
and I was like,
get
never
it now.
again.
So you're surrounded by amateurs, and you
Never
just
again.
can't demote yourself like that.
That's the problem.
But I need us all to remember we are healthily in Gen Z I don't care territory with Halloween at this point. Like, if the moment that it looks like you put an effort with your eyeliner, you're not cool anymore. And I hate that. I hate that that's a thing now. But it's true.
That is fair, Misha.
Perfectly summed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I used to be that kid, and that's what actually made me start not liking Halloween as a kid, because I would always like find something like fun and nerdy and no one would ever know. Because like Michael, when we were younger, like that shit wasn't as popular. So like,
How
I would
dare
always,
you.
I gotta take someone with me. So I would go to like, I remember like one year I dressed up as like someone from Star Trek and no one knew what I was. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be Commander Riker. He's my favorite. And like one year I dressed up as like one of the X-Men, and I think it was Gambit. And again, no one knew who it was, and so I was just like, I fucking hate Halloween. And I feel like not until I was like in my 20s did I start dressing up again. I think, yeah. And I'm still like iffy about dressing up.
I don't know about y'all. I'm struggling this year. Like well, okay. I'm veering us so off track. I'm so sorry. But this year I'm dating somebody for the first time in a while. And we want to do, and we're both just wildly queer, and we want to do like a sort of like trans, non-binary sort of like Halloween couples costume. I'm like, well, that's difficult. Yeah. What do we do? So I think we might be going as Fleabag and Hot Priest. We might be doing that.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Like I can never get creative with Halloween costumes. Me and my husband have been talking about it, and we've been married 6 years, and every year we've done vampires because it's the easiest thing to do. And we want to do something different this year, but it's already like almost Halloween time. It will probably we'll probably end up at the Spirit Halloween buying a couple more like moldy things, you know?
Yeah.
The ones that just mold your teeth.
God.
I have been a vampire so many times. It's my favorite go-to, but whatever, it's on brand for us. We fucking love Buffy. So the episode opens on Buffy fighting a vampire in a pumpkin patch, which I mean, now I'm just thinking of Misha, you saying the gimmick, and it really is a gimmick, but the thing I do love about like a holiday episode is when we see everything decorated. Like I like seeing the sets decorated for whatever holiday. Like there is one in season 5 of Buffy, and Zach, I don't know if you've noticed this, or Hammy, maybe you have. There are like 2 season 5 episodes that clearly are supposed to take place like in December because they have Christmas decorations up at the magic box, but they don't say that it's Christmas. But like the decorations are there.
I hate when they don't just like specifically say something is a something.
Wait,
right?
Do you think that that's a network thing?
Oh, maybe,
like,
right?
Because like if networks have like I already forgot what networks Buffy started on and what they moved to, but like there's a thing if they have other shows or movies that are holiday centric, sometimes they split up the focus on their slate of shows.
Huh?
Yeah,
that is annoying.
Oh yeah.
Full stop.
But I liked seeing like all the shit decorated. So I like that Buffy's like, she's fighting a vampire, but instead of it being in a graveyard, we're in a pumpkin patch because why not? Right? Like,
oh my God, the bronze looks so good, all decorated.
I know. I love the way the bronze looks.
Yeah.
And I like that they use the set to tell you like there's that sign that says tomorrow's Halloween. And like that kind of tells you where we are. The opening's kind of just, there's that vampire recording her, which is a weird thing that doesn't go anywhere. That's like a good idea for the time, but
I mean, it kind of does. Isn't Spike like reviewing the footage or something? Yeah. It's barely there though.
Yeah.
And then still gets his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Spoilers. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, sorry. Honey, I'm home.
But yeah, so then we get post credits and we do get the bronze, and I love seeing the bronze all decorated.
Yeah.
And I like that we get Cordelia and Angel. Zach, I'm curious how you like to see.
I know, because it's different now. We're covering Angel over here on the Slayerfest 98. And we are seeing a lot of chemistry between Cordelia and Angel. And we know that, or actually, now I think it was spoiled for me. It doesn't go anywhere. But it's here as well, And because it could have gone, she chats him up and he kind of is just not interested, but we could. And they're talking about, they're bonding over like material things, and they're both laughing and giggling together. And it's just a kind of like a preview into that next show they're both going to be on.
Right. It does read differently once you've started Angel. It really does. Misha, have you watched Angel?
I have not seen more than the pilot. No.
That's fair. Zach is struggling going through it now.
I promise season 2 because everybody's telling me season 2. So I'm waiting.
Hammy, you've seen it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Doesn't
Are
it
we
get
allowed
better?
to call you Hammy too? Or are we calling you Michael?
Please, whichever. Okay.
Oh, I realize I keep switching it up, don't I?
I don't know. They both ring as the exact same thing to me.
I think I asked you that in our first recording. I was like, am I allowed to call you Hammy? And you were like, yeah.
Oh, right. Yes. Anyone can call me Hammy. I just can't introduce myself as Hammy because I find it cringy.
Okay.
But I like being called Hammy. I just won't tell anyone to do it. I'm very fragile.
Zach, you're surrounded by fragile queers.
It's okay. I can be fragile too.
And as Willow points out, as however you identify gender-wise in this space, but as Willow points out in this episode, men are fragile, or boys are fragile.
And we've got a panel full.
Such a good
line. Poor Misha.
It's fine. I'll always exist as a question mark, and that's fine by me. But
we will be the fragile ones, and you can just, kind of cock your head at us.
You can be the Slayer.
You can be the Slayer. There you go. Save us from Larry.
Yay. Okay, cool.
So yeah, we get that. So Michael, yeah, what do you think of Cordelia and Angel?
I was still upset. Having seen Angel, it still made me upset that he was enjoying her presence. But to be fair, I would enjoy her presence as well. So I can't be too mad. But I was like, no, Angel, you're not allowed to laugh at her jokes. You're not allowed to have a good time with her. Buffy's coming to see you. Screw off. Cordelia, also screw off. He's not your man. I know I'm going to come to like you eventually, Cordelia, but I do not right now.
Ooh, harsh words. Yeah, so Buffy comes in, she gets a little jealous, and I do like that, she's supposed to look bad, but she still doesn't look bad, right?
No, of course not. It's the 90s. Nobody looks bad on a TV show.
And maybe a few strands of her hair are out of place, I feel like.
They put a piece of hay in her hair, and we're like, what a trash monster.
Why would she show up to the bronze looking like that, right?
Oh, God. Cordelia has the line, love the hair, just screams street urchin, which is such a weird line.
Oh my God.
And I love that when Angel says they were supposed to have a date and Buffy gives her very Buffy thing. I wrote down the quote here. It says, dates are things normal girls have. Girls who have time to think about nail polish and facials. You know what I think about? Ambush tactics, beheadings, not exactly the stuff dreams are made of.
Let's talk about that for a second, right?
Yes.
Angel, you could be out there helping her.
Right.
You have the ability. You have a soul. You're supposed to be a good guy. Why are you at the bronze with a bunch of teenagers?
Yeah.
A lot of people do and I'm not big on Sailor Moon, but I know it. That tuxedo mask meme where he's like, I've done all I can. And she's like, you didn't do anything. That is Angel. Because it's a lot of that, right? And it's but you are a vampire. What? Why were you at the bronze first? You should have just been with her, patrolling and helping and fighting.
That makes me yearn for a Buffy dressed as Sailor Moon while Angel's dressed as Tuxedo Mask.
I would love that.
Yes, it would be nice.
I really like this scene because I feel like it's kind of cliche. It's Buffy being woe is me, blah, blah, blah. I'm the chosen one. I'm the Slayer. But her acting just genuinely sells it as being tragic. I feel for her. I'm yes, your life does suck. This is difficult. And, that's to Sarah Michelle's credit to actually pull off those kind of cheesy lines.
You and me have the exact same thought about this scene. I wrote down something similar. She has this ability, and honestly, this producer brain immediately says to me this is why she got cast, even in probably her season 1 auditions. This writing was never going to be God's gift to anything. It's just going to be fun, but they need somebody that's going to bring the heart to the fun, and she does that really well.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
Zach and I have across 2 podcasts.
Pick an episode.
Yeah, spent a lot of time discussing.
We can turn this into an hour long talking about why Sarah Michelle Gellar is one of the greatest actors of our generation.
And Misha, you are an actor, so I feel I'm glad to hear you say that because Zach and I say it all the time, but we're not actors. But right, she she does a lot of good face acting, I think.
It's good face acting, but it's also this show is a perfect example, and I don't think people talk about it enough because this show is so beloved. So picking it apart can read as bullying the show, but actually, it's to this show's credit that it suffers from a lot of the same things that other TV shows suffer from. It's kind of cheesy. The plot lines don't always make a ton of sense. My Instacart is absolutely here right now. I'm so sorry for the beeping, but. It suffers from a lot of the same things that other shows suffer from, but it's so charming and you care about the actors and the characters and people, like Sarah Michelle, actually pull it off that you just kind of forgive a whole wash of things because you're having a good time.
Yeah. I was a little worried. I was like, "Ooh, are we gonna get to the good part here, Misha?" But yeah, no.
The show is terrible. It sucks. It looks like shit. But you know what? That Sarah Michelle Gellar, she's pretty good.
But yeah, no. I even before we knew that He Who Shall Not Be Named was a piece of shit, I would always be like, well, it's not just his writing; it's the act. It's like a combination of everything.
Oh yeah.
Who wrote this one?
I just know it was written by someone, and it was the only episode they wrote, and then they were fired.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought it was someone that wasn't like one of the main writers. That's what I thought.
Yeah, this is their only episode credit.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so Joss, Carl Ellsworth, Rob.
Yes,
Desotel?
It was Carl Ellsworth.
Ellsworth, okay.
Huh. All right.
Yeah. He wrote this episode. He was called in by Joss, and he thought he was going to just get notes, apparently, from Joss, but he was let go, and he said that it was due to his inability to write dialogue for teenagers.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
meanwhile, we've got 30-year-olds playing the teenagers, right?
I was going to say, obviously, this entire cast and crew is exceedingly familiar with the life of real teenagers. So,
so we cut to the next day actually, that's the thing where I'm like, what is the timeline here? Because when she's at the pumpkin patch patrolling, it is nighttime, and it says tomorrow is Halloween. And then they're at the Bronze, and then she's at school, and then tomorrow is Halloween. So, like, the timeline's a little
No,
weird,
that day's Halloween, right? No, because they go to school, and Snyder's like, oh, no, you're right.
Because then the next
we
day,
found where Ellsworth got fired.
Oh, no.
They on the early seasons, they do that sometimes, where it'll cut to, like, Angel in the dark, and then it'll supposed to be the same day, and it's, like, them going to school. And, like, sometimes it's a little bit wacky with that, because like it feels like she goes from the Bronze to school, but like clearly that's not how that works. But yeah, okay. So Buffy is telling the gang that like this is where we get like that, monsters take the night off on Halloween. We see Principal Snyder is forcing kids to sign up to chaperone little kids trick-or-treating. Hammy, give me your thoughts on Principal Snyder, because I think he's one of the more fun, like, awful characters to watch on screen.
I love him. I think he is somehow more villainous than most of the villains, while just being a little human dweeb.
That's
like I feel like I could beat him up, but I also feel like he would make me feel so bad about myself. I couldn't if I tried.
Like that's your go-to. Like I could beat him up. I could fight him.
I could beat him. He's just so dweeby, like he just annoys me in this way that like gets on my nerves. But like he could tear you down. It's like a very small drag queen. You know what I mean? Like they'll read you to filth.
That was the Snyder of spinoff.
Yeah,
I see it. I buy it. I want it.
Misha, what do you think of Principal Snyder?
Say something smarter than I did, please.
No, don't put me on the spot. I was literally just chugging kombucha. Shut up. I will say that I actually did, because we always liked the Snyder quips and like the sort of like, I agree. He would probably be able to whip out an insult that would put me to shame. But he's a really good example, again, nerdy actor brain for me, of like shows like this really like rest on their like dope supporting characters. Like, exactly who he is. He always comes up with like the right sort of like quippy line. Whoever's writing for him clearly understands his voice. Like I feel safe when there's a scene with him, because I know that I'm going to enjoy it, and then I know exactly who he is. And that's kind of a good feeling.
Yeah, I just think he's like very like his ridiculous hate for Buffy is like, it's ridiculous, but it's fun to watch, right? It just is.
It's also like I would bet I haven't read any of the Buffy, because they're comics, right? Like this comes from comic book world. Am I wrong?
The comics came after.
Oh, the comics came after. Fascinating. Yeah. So I know nothing then. But then his Archie-esque hate for the teen hero, like it's so classically comic book trope, and I love that it shows up in the TV show, because it makes I can see a comic book panel with him like hating on Buffy's latest antics.
Yeah, it's funny because I always feel like Buffy made sense for like baby Ian was like very into comic books, and like Buffy made sense as the thing that I was obsessed with. Like going from X-Men to Buffy like does make sense.
Yeah.
But so he makes Buffy and the gang sign up. This feels early in these seasons, it must have been, someone must have pumped up the script, because I do like when she's like, oh, suddenly I've come down with carpal tunnel syndrome. I can't sign up. And then he just still fucking hands her the thing to sign up.
Yeah.
And he wants her to sign up, but he won't let her talk to any of the kids, right?
Right.
So he's just out to get her.
Strictly torture.
And then what happens next, Zach?
So yeah, we go into that's where we get Xander at the soda machine, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
they picked a table in the school, and so Xander's at the soda machine.
Boy.
I have questions for you, Ian, at this point. So Larry harasses him, comes up. Was this the gay setup that they were like toying with?
I don't,
because they were toying with Xander, the idea of Xander being the one who comes out later, right?
No way.
Yeah. They've said that they didn't know who was going to come out, if it was going to be Xander or Willow.
Oh.
And like knowing that, it is right, Zach. It is kind of like apparent with a lot of the Xander stuff.
Because Larry would be because Larry comes out, and Larry would be checking out. Like, does he really want to ask Buffy out, or is he seeing if Xander is,
right? I mean, yeah, and I think especially the Xander Larry interactions very much show you that they were like hinting at it there. Because like it is this season when he goes to talk to Larry about when they're like not sure, or is it season 3 when they're not sure who the werewolf is? No, that's season 2. It's Phases. And Larry like ends up coming out to him, and Xander gets almost like, and when you're like a teen and you know that you're queer, but it's like, I don't want everyone else to know. And so like Larry's talking to him and assuming that Xander is as well, and Xander gets all like, what are you talking about? Like, I do think you're right. It probably was even being set up here, because there's a lot of Xander shit in the early seasons that I could see being set up for that.
Yeah, and then it sort of plays off of itself in that way with, Buffy comes in and saves him, and he gets really upset about that, right?
Yeah.
Like at first, it's pretty cool because he's standing up for Buffy, and he isn't cowarding. He's just going to stand there and he knows he's going to get hit, right? So he's going to stand there and get hit, and then Buffy saves him, and then that's where it like flips. I'm like, come on, Xander, really?
Right.
Come on.
Like, you're get mad because she made it so you didn't get beat up? Like,
almost had a whole moment, right? And then Buffy and Willow are at the table, and they sort of talk about it quickly. And Willow says, boys are so fragile.
Boys are so fragile. This whole section of the episode gets so ridiculously meta, and they don't even they don't at the time. I'm sure they didn't realize it, but now we're all talking about like sensitivity and masculinity and what it means. Like this whole stretch of this episode is literally a commentary on the fragility of men.
It is. You are right.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, that does track. It's still annoying that Xander does it, but you're right. It does like track. Like, that's how like a dumb teen boy might react.
Yeah.
I almost feel like maybe if he were closeted, like that would have been the start of him being like, yes, like,
oh my God.
He would have been like standing.
Where are we going with this rewrite, Ian? Come on now. What are we doing? I like the sort of like when you read it through that lens, though, it does like, it's a little bit of, he doesn't want to look limp-wristed, right? In front of anybody. Yeah. And I do like that reading. And I almost Xander would have been less insufferable if he'd come out at some point, right?
Yes,
I feel like he could have had a bigger arc, a bigger journey. And they kind of like just left him dead at the door. Yeah.
I mean, and like, dating Cordelia and Anya when you're closeted, that tracks. Like,
oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
100%.
I too would date Anya.
Right.
I would do it now. Like,
she's dead.
When they do the Buffy reboot, Misha, you will play Anya.
Oh, you really do like me. That was so nice.
It's literally the nicest thing Ian's ever said to anyone.
And we're all jealous now.
Yeah.
Well, as the three of you know, I play favorites, so I can't help it. So we then get them discussing what, like, Willow says, which is wildly incorrect, how Angel would never fall for Cordelia. Because we know that he does.
Sure.
And then Buffy wants to kind of know what his type is. So they decide to steal they're stealing books, but it looks like they stole a journal.
It's a Watcher's diary, right? It has to be.
Okay.
It's a Watcher's diary, but why doesn't she have like security clearance on all of this already? This is her job. Right? She should be able to walk into his office and grab whatever the hell she wants, look on his Pornhub browser history. She's got to know what job she's going into.
Right, though, it should be
it's so weird that they have to like steal the book. Maybe it could be embarrassment. That reads. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think in my brain, I always remembered it as like Giles has Angel's journal for some reason, but I know that doesn't make sense. So.
Is that it? That could be it.
No, I think if I remember correctly, it's like a Watcher's diary, but like I love how well written the exchange between Willow and Buffy is. Like the sort of like, we can't do that because that's against the rules, right? But this is like these two young actresses are still getting acclimated to like smarter dialogue. So it's kind of clunky in the best high school way, but like that is absolutely what they're saying. Like it's not allowed. I think you're right. It's a Watcher's diary. I don't know. It fascinated me from like a nerdy perspective of like, this is actually really good writing for Buffy, and they're kind of surprised by it on set.
Listen, Sarah Michelle Gellar saying because it's wrong or it would be wrong is a genre in and of itself. It's like real good stuff.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Then we cut to the bathroom and we get them looking through the books. I do. My favorite, I like this whole scene actually, but I love that Buffy is like romanticizing like, oh, to have those dresses and to like be a noble woman. And Willow's like, still, I think I prefer being able to vote. Like it
was so good.
Right?
That was good.
Because that reminds me of like, especially back in the Tumblr days when everyone would be like, oh, I should have grown up in the 40s. It's like, no, I do not want to grow up.
I actually distinctly remember this. I saw a screenshot of a Tumblr post along those lines. Like, oh, I wish I grew up like, I don't know, like the roaring 20s. Right. Like, I like hygiene, but sure.
It's just, it's understandable that Buffy would be this way, right? Like Willow does get to like focus on turning 18 and getting to vote, like nobody's going to tell Buffy what day to even vote on or how to get a voter's registration card. Buffy just sees this picture of a princess and she gets to fantasize a little bit because she shows up with a piece of hay in her hair at the bronze, right? And she's just
which means she's automatically trashed.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I like that. I also like being able to get to see our hero be a little silly. Like she's just being a little like she's being very like teenager, right? Like of course it's like someone you have a crush on and like, oh wow, I could look really good in that outfit.
She's daydreaming.
Yeah.
Wait, Ian.
Okay, no, you go ahead.
No, I just want to circle back to our lamentable writer of this episode. Did you just say that Buffy was acting like a teenager?
I did.
Yeah.
Justice for Carl. Justice for Carl.
It begins here in this episode.
Release the Carl cut.
Oh my god.
Oh yes. I was just saying that I think it's an absolutely ridiculous scene that they're staring at like what is essentially a stick figure cartoon and being like, she's so beautiful. Oh my god, she's so stunning. And I'm like, this is like a bad drawing of a cartoon.
I would have done that too, though. I would have been like, I don't know. It feels old. It's in an old book, right? So it has that extra like little touch to it, and it just feels like, I don't know. I could see Buffy falling over it.
Yeah. And then enter Cordelia Chase, and I do love everything. Like everything Cordelia says here is very good. The one thing that it always bothers me anytime I like watch this episode is we never actually resolve the fact that Cordelia doesn't know he's a vampire.
Exactly.
Right.
Having like not watched the episodes around this one in a second, like I was like tracking the time, like does Cordelia know? Does she actually know?
Yeah.
No, she doesn't. But she's almost so ridiculous that you don't care.
Right. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
But God, she has so many good lines in this bathroom, right?
She has an epic line delivery when she's like actively doing her makeup, and she's like, "Yeah, the parent." What?
Yes.
Like you actually see her. When she actually drops in to like acting for real, and not just playing Cordelia. I'm like, oh, girl, that's really funny.
Yeah, because you're right. It's the Cordelia, I think his parents have been dead for hundreds of years, and she's just doing her makeup, and she's like, "Oh, good. What?" Like,
what?
It's such a good moment, and I also like when they're like Buffy and Willow are like, oh, we thought you knew he was a vampire. And she just assumes they're bullshitting because they don't want her to like try to like snag him. And she's
even though she's aware that demonology and demons and all that are a real thing at this point, right?
Right.
Or is
yeah.
that oh Jesus, sure.
And she does say, like, you may be hot stuff when it comes to demonology or whatever. When it comes to dating, I'm the Slayer, which is so ridiculous, and I love it.
It's the best quote. It's so
right?
good. And when she calls, she calls Angel a Care Bear with fangs?
Yes.
Oh, God. Also great.
Also kind of hot. Like,
yeah. Like, that's the quote I'm getting tattooed on my lower back.
Sure. Care Bear with fangs.
So then we cut to the Halloween shop, and the bit of Buffy picking up the pumpkin that screams is like my favorite silly screenshot to tweet every single year at Halloween. Because I just like that it's I also like her face where she's like, whoop, and like puts it down. It's just like a cute whatever. And then Buffy and Willow discuss what, Zachary?
She finds the princess dress, right? Like they find they're looking at, everybody's looking at Halloween costumes. Okay, I'll back up a little bit. They're all looking at Halloween costumes, and oh my goodness, what are they?
Wait, can I try to save you?
Yes.
I'm gonna attempt to save you. Is it when they're talking about like you get to be whatever sexy bitch you want for Halloween this year? Is it that? Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
She says, you're missing the whole point of Halloween. And Willow says, free candy?
Aww.
Which is very cute. Yeah.
Also, at some point, we're going to have to homage to Willow's abs. I know I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh,
but
yeah,
like,
we will.
Like, yeah. Okay, great. Cool. I just want to pin it. Great. Awesome.
I did make notes about that, Misha.
Thank you.
So, yeah, she sees this dress that is, I was about to say pretty, but it's not really pretty, right? It
looks like a Halloween costume.
No.
Yeah.
I also even for the 90s with some of the cringe fashion that was in back then, these color combos are not it. I'm sorry, they're not.
Right? It's like a deep red and like a light pink and
it's very Princess Peach, actually, if you think about it.
Oh yeah. Hammy, I am curious. Jared even asked on Twitter if you were going to break down the Halloween costumes. What do you think of?
Oh, certainly not. The dress is tacky and I hate it. Xander looks hot in a tank top.
Sure.
I think they put Boo on the ghost costume just so it wouldn't look like a KKK outfit. And Cordelia's a big cat.
Oh my God.
And that's your cosplay breakdown.
Great job.
Yeah,
there you go, Jared. Enjoy.
Just for Jared. We don't get Giles in a Halloween costume this episode, though.
I know. Well,
disappointing.
Yeah. I know. I feel like
is he always in his Halloween costume?
Very true.
Dun dun dun.
Enter Ethan Rayne, and he offers to give Buffy a deal she can't refuse on the dress.
What do we think of Ethan Rayne? I'm like weirdly attracted to him.
Especially
when he's doing
I have in my notes, is Ethan Rayne hot with a circle around it? Is Ethan Rayne hot with a circle around it?
When he's at the altar doing chaos magic, I'm feeling it, you know?
Yeah.
The blood on the eyes, it's blood for eyeshadow.
Misha, you're like, yeah.
What an attractive British convenience character. You know what I mean? Like, just like when you really get down to like what he means in Buffy and what he means in this episode, like even his last name is his last name Rain or Rayne like a king Rayne?
It's Rayne.
Okay, well then it doesn't mean anything. But I think it means I think it means like chaos reigns because like that's how convenient of a character he is. Like he is here for this purpose.
I mean, probably, yeah.
Yeah, but also attractive British man. Not gonna like deny the group that, but sure.
I mean, like him and Giles. Like I feel like we've talked about this a couple times, but like him and Giles definitely fucked. Like they talk about
yes.
Oh yeah,
days, right? Like
they didn't bring Ethan Rayne in enough. They should have had him in a full season. I feel like, or some. So we should have got flashbacks of them as teenagers or something, right? Like Euphoria can give us a flashback of Cal and his whole backstory, right? Why couldn't Buffy the Vampire Slayer give us Ethan Rayne and Rupert Giles as teenagers? You know, fucking around.
Also,
England.
Not Not for nothing too. Like again, shows like this rest on their guest stars because it keeps the show going. What a like a talented guy. Like I enjoyed watching him be absolutely ridiculous as a chaos magic doer.
Yeah,
like he was actually enjoyable to watch.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you, Zach. Like because he's so enjoyable to watch, like you said, Misha. It's a shame they didn't bring him in enough. Like he was a really fun reoccurring character, but he's only in 3 episodes, I think. Yeah, God, I think it only is 3. And like he's got that like delicious villain to him where it's like he's like almost cartoony, but he's still like fun to watch, and he's like very
arch,
right? Yeah.
Okay, so Carl, I have notes. Here's the thing. And I wouldn't fire you. I would just try to workshop it. But here's the thing. I am okay with this convenience, like this abundantly convenient episode and setup and guest star, because it's a gimmick episode and we're all here to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's
but
right.
I agree that even down to like the incredibly queer sort of like flourish from the curtain that he enters the Halloween shop with when Buffy sees the dress, like it's just fabulous. Like I'm pretty sure watching the episode back that if they wanted an explanation for him and why he's doing chaos magic, they rest the entire episode on his like doing the chaos ritual in front of the chaos statue. Like they rest the entire episode's explanation on that. Otherwise, if you missed him doing chaos magic and that he just likes fucking shit up, the episode does not make sense.
That is true.
There you go.
Fair.
Theory. Snyder and Rayne are lovers. They conspired to get Buffy to need a Halloween costume, so she goes to the store.
Oh my God.
So that they can bring about chaos magic. Oh my goodness. Then we move along. We move along to Drusilla and Spike. Right. I always forget they're here.
I know, yeah. Especially early in this season, they really don't do anything with Drusilla. She's kind of just like at the factory when Spike's there. She does her. I do. Misha, I'm curious what you think of Drusilla, because I love the acting that Juliet Landau does with Drusilla, and I'm curious.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for knowing me well enough to know that I have opinions on this. Drusilla is potentially one of my favorite characters in Buffy period the end, namely because of how beautifully she's acted. Yeah. And also the writing, think about for a second what Drusilla's writing looks like on the page. It's probably incredibly bland because it's short sentences. It's mostly dream sequence, sort of like, oh, I had a vision about this butterfly doing jack shit. I don't know. But like it's probably very boring, and this actress brings it to life, right? I will say that something fascinating happens later in the Buffy seasons when Drusilla becomes more of like a heavier plot device, and like things start happening around Drusilla, and there's betrayal and emotions. Her becoming more, for lack of a better way to put it, human, and her becoming a weightier plot device takes away from the fun of just how dumb and amazing Drusilla is early in Buffy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, you're right, because she becomes like more coherent, and then it's like less of the like rambling. Because later on in season 2, like the line I always think of with Drusilla is when she says she's like staring at the sky, or not even the sky. She's laying on the table in the factory, and she says she's staring at the sky, but she's not, because she's inside, and she's like, I'm naming the stars, but I've named them all the same name, and there's terrible confusion. Like I always think that's such
so
good line, right? And it doesn't mean anything. Like
no, but it's epic. It's delivery. It's epic delivery.
Yes. And it plays into like, that's a line that sort of plays into her acting as well. Like just like physical acting is, I like constantly see her and like her twiddling her fingers like in the air and like just blank space as like playing with little stars that she's seeing or something like that, right? Like I want to know what she was specifically thinking in her movements, and like I don't know, is Drusilla hallucinating things while she's, you know, talking to other people? Is she talking to two people at once? Like, I don't know. Like, what did Juliet Landau? How did she play it?
Is there a giant doll behind Spike as she's talking to him? Like Miss Edith doing dances?
It's the Nacha doll.
Which I will, I've told Zach this, but when we interviewed Juliet Landau, she actually said she wanted to be on What We Do in the Shadows. She was like, oh, I want to be on that show. I want to write them and tell them to have me guest. And I was just like, yes, I want Drusilla on What We Do in the Shadows.
Ethan Rayne should be on What We Do in the Shadows also.
Oh, Jesus fuck. Of all things, this is so tangential, but actor who plays Giles, what's his name?
Anthony Stewart Head.
Yeah, Anthony Stewart Head. I saw him recently in a new TV show on Netflix, and he's obviously quite a bit older now, but he still has all the comedic chops, and he's almost playing with like being older and even more ridiculous. I'm like, awesome, good for you.
I love that.
Keep working. Yeah.
What Netflix show was it?
It's Feel Good, Mae Martin's new show.
Okay, huh?
Yeah, it's a British show. Yeah, and it's season 2 of this British show, but Lisa Kudrow's in it. It's wonderful. Please go watch it.
Wow. That's so wild about Netflix where like you can just mention a show that Lisa Kudrow's in and I'm like, wow, I've never even heard of this one, but it's on its second season.
Exactly. 100% could not describe this situation better.
I remember one night when I was like stoned and put Netflix on and it was like the final season. And I was like, what is this show? And I watched a trailer and I was like, there are famous people on the show and I've literally never heard of it. And it was like the final season and it was like season 5.
Yeah. It's Netflix has its own, pot of spoils going on, but
yeah.
Bless.
So Drusilla she basically says like someone's coming to town to change it all. Spike reiterates that tomorrow's Halloween. They don't do shit on Halloween. But then we cut to Ethan doing his sexy chaos magic spell. And then quickly cut back to Buffy's house. And I really do feel like Buffy and Willow represent like the two different queers on Halloween. It's like the one who's going to be just like sexy whatever, and the one who's in like a ridiculous costume.
Yeah.
And Misha, now we can take a pause to discuss how ridiculously slamming Allison Hannigan's body is.
And just like they truly threw it at us without, I mean, like, granted, I'm sure when she walked on set for the first time in that outfit, everybody was like, oh, right, we've cast a beautiful woman. But we as the audience didn't know. How would we know until now? And then everybody's jaw's on the floor.
And like, when they show her, like, she tries to hunch her shoulders because it's like, oh, feels awkward, but it's like, yeah, but she still looks smoking hot.
Just so attractive.
It reminds me of all the magazines that she used to do in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? Because she was always real sexy in those magazines. Mm-hmm. She was always showing bit of belly.
Was it Maxim that she did that one?
Oh my gosh, she did a lot. Are you talking about the one where she's like walking up the stairs?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have that hanging in your room too. Do you?
I was going to say, I think it might be on my door. It might be on the back of my door.
Sight unseen. I already know.
Yeah. And so basically Willow's feeling uncomfortable. Buffy's kind of encouraging her. Like, what does she say? Like Halloween is the night when not you is you. Which I put in my notes, poet laureate Buffy Summers.
There you go.
Leave Buffy alone.
And she's like, I can't wait for the boys to go nonverbal when they see you. And I want to just like pause to, when we covered the pilot episode for the 25th anniversary, Kirsten White said something that I keep thinking about that I didn't really think about so much with Buffy, but like, she is a very good friend to Willow and she is like very encouraging with her and very like, always like hyping her up in these early seasons when Willow is still like that, like less like more antisocial, awkward, nerdy character. And Buffy is like always kind to her. And I don't know. It's just like it makes us love Buffy more, right?
Their friendship in the first 3 seasons is really good because in season 3, when Buffy and Angel break up, and Willow's, I've referenced this moment all the time, and Willow's like sitting on the bed with Buffy and Buffy's laying her head in Willow's lap and, Willow's kind of like stroking her hair. It's just, they set up their friendship really well in these first 3 seasons. And then it kind of like, I don't know, they start distancing a little bit after that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it really is set up so well. And like, it's a fucking like I always give them all their flowers, but it's like really a credit to their acting that they like really sell you on this best friendship.
I was just going to say, and please tell me if this sort of nerdiness ever gets old, but like I, even watching it back the first time, because, the show that I did and by the way, the writing on the show that I did was just incredible. It's an incredible trans showrunner that we had, Casey Maderno, but, Peacock has, right. And there's a lot of queer friendship and queer love in our show. We can absolutely and verbally blame Peacock for the way that they handled it. Sorry, Peacock, I'm going to throw you shade. But it's funny watching the first few seasons of Buffy. I too felt the same thing. I'm like, this is pretty good writing, and like it's two powerhouse characters. But more than anything, actors bonding on a TV show set can make or break the arc of their characters over many seasons. And it also informs the writing, because most writers that are hired seasons 2 through whatever of a show are hired to write for the successful actors in the show.
Yeah.
So these girls clearly, as they were growing up as adults and actors and people in the industry, bonded on this set. And it's so clear as they're playing friends on this show.
Yeah. Yeah. And, in Evan Ross Katz's book, they do talk about that. Like he interviewed, I think Allison Hannigan's like one of the only ones he didn't interview, and which I will do my humble brag that I do all the time, is that I am also in that book. I am like quoted on the same page as Cynthia Erivo and a page away from Sarah Michelle Gellar, which I will never get over.
Yes, you are.
But like they talk about that, how the first few seasons they were like a family, and they like became so close because none of them, it's not like they were famous actors coming to the show. They all were kind of like, Sarah Michelle Gellar had done soap operas, but she wasn't like a famous name, right? And they were all like super close, and it was like a family. And they actually say in the book the same thing you just said, Zach, that after season 3 is when it kind of started, like everyone wasn't as close as they used to be. And I do feel like you kind of do feel that a little bit.
Well, it was the 7-season sort of like toll that it took on everybody, the 22 episode 7-season toll, and everybody was just, they were around each other all the time, right? They get tired of each other, but like we still have, these actors are still so great that they still pulled off those friendship moments throughout the entire series. Like season 7, very last season, when they're sitting on the bed and Buffy is helping, helping Willow heal. It's such a good moment, and they did a really great job of beginning to plant those seeds way in season 1, right? And then by the time we get to like this season 2, and this is what episode is Halloween? It's pretty early on, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 10 or something.
Yeah, maybe they 8. Feel like they've been friends for years and years and years.
Yes. That's a thing I forget with season 2 is like, oh, Buffy's still like the new one in the group, but like they do feel like longtime friends. Michael, what do you think? What do you think of their friendship? Do you love it too?
Yeah, I kind of forgot I was even part of this because I thought I love listening to you guys talk so passionately about Buffy. I thought I was listening to an episode for a second.
I'm going to call you out because you used that line on me when we recorded for the Patreon, and it works every time. I will tell you it works every time.
It's true. Like I just get so invested, and I'm thinking so many things in my head while you guys are talking.
We talk about these people like they're real fucking people. Like this is a TV show.
Seriously. No, I love them. I think you guys are right. Like I think you can tell that they were really close on set, and that comes through in the sort of acting and how close they appear. And I think Ian, you were telling me something about season 7 and how people had a theory that they were like mad at each other, and that's why they didn't interact very well. And whether or not that's true, they're crushing it now. So
yeah. So Xander arrives. I do think it's cute that like, when he's like, what does he call her? Buffdom of Buffonia. I do think that's charming. Willow comes down the steps. She's got her sheet on. And
what is Willow's costume? Do they talk about that? Like, is she just like hot punk?
I don't have an answer for that.
I would say maybe like pop star or something.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe.
Because like Buffy's very encouraging that she wants that to be her costume. But like we don't ever say.
Theory: Willow is dressed up as Faith before Faith existed.
There you go. We'll go with that.
Yes.
Total side note: Jenna Ortega has been on like a press tour lately, and there were pictures that came out of her yesterday wearing a jean jacket. Everybody needs to go look at those pictures because she looks like Faith's little sister. Like she looks slayered up. But back into the episode. I love the ghost thing. The whole ghost setup, the whole ghost plot is my favorite of the entire episode. I think it is so fun.
It really is. It's just like, I mean, like you said, Misha, it's a fun fucking gimmick. Like, it just is. So then we see Ethan finishing his spell. They're all trick-or-treating. Or wait, no. Then we cut back to school again. That's where the timeline gets a little wacky.
Yeah, and they go collect their children.
Right, they go get the kids, where Snyder tells Buffy not to talk to any of them.
Meanwhile, let me interject just again. Snyder tells Buffy not to talk to any of the kids. Meanwhile, we cut to Xander, and the guy dressed as a doctor right behind Xander is waving a scalpel in one of the kids' faces. It is so just unhinged and deranged, but Buffy can't talk to the children.
Yeah, but like, no talking.
I mean, she burned her gym down, so I get it, but, you know.
Also, why would he even want her with the kids if he, like, she's the, like, quote-unquote delinquent that he says she is? But we also get, which is so weird the way they introduce Oz, is how, like, he doesn't interact with the main characters. Because we see him... this Inca Mummy Girl is his first episode, and then this, and it's just, like, him seeing Willow from afar. But... I do love when him and Cordelia have to be together, because Oz, as Zach knows this, Oz is my forever Buffy crush. And I think he's a very good character. And I just like when there's someone super calm like that has to, super calm and more like on the logical side, that has to interact with like Cordelia or even Anya. Like, I love that.
I have in my notes for this episode that like, I actually love how indirectly they're introducing Oz and Willow in particular, like their soon to be whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. Like they keep crossing paths, and one time she's in a ghost sheet, and one time she's like walking away as like the a hot silhouette that he can't quite tell. I'm like, great, awesome. I'm so here for this.
It is right. It's weird, but I do like it. Like, I think it works. And I don't know. Speaking of people looking hot, Cordelia looks so hot in her cat leotard.
Sure.
Of course.
It's almost, but you saying that is almost like, Jell-O jiggles. Like, of course, we all agree.
Right. In other news, the sky is blue.
Yeah.
That she's renting also, though, because she still wants to get her deposit back on it.
Well, ma'am, we need a reveal for where she got her costume. Don't hate on, is it Carl? Is it Carl's the writer?
I don't know, man.
But I do like that it's Cordelia. She's mad that Devin, who we have not met yet, I don't think, who's the lead, or maybe we have. I think we saw Dingo's Ate My Baby at the Bronze. Devin is very hot, I will also say, and he's only in a handful of episodes, but I like that it's like, she's being like, he didn't show up for our date. Okay, but don't tell him I asked. You know what? We didn't even talk about this. And he's like, all right.
That's
whatever.
My favorite thing about Cordelia dating Devin also is that we see this entire relationship and never see them actually together, right? She's just like running around talking about Devin and mad at Devin. And where the fuck is Devin? Is there a universe, chaos magic, is there a universe in which Cordelia and Oz have chemistry?
I have in my notes written Cordelia Oz spinoff. I don't know. I just love their interaction was so incredible. Like, him being so calm and just kind of confused and dealing with her and like not being agitated by her in any way. And like, it's such a foil to Cordelia. Like, if someone's rude to Cordelia, she can clap back, but like, she doesn't know how to handle Oz, who's just like listening to her and asking for more information and trying to genuinely help. And she's like, well, I don't know I don't know what to do. You're not being mean to me. You're not worshiping me. I'm leaving. It's just such a great dynamic.
Like, and they're not like, she's not mad at him. She just is like, I don't really know what to do with this. Like,
and he doesn't treat her as if she's stupid. Like like Giles treats her kind of like she's dumb, and like Xander treats her as ditzy, and like Oz doesn't. He's just treating her like a person, and it's just like, what do you want me to do? You're being very confusing.
Yeah, I do like that. And then we get him saying, oh, why can't I meet a nice girl? And then he bumps directly into Willow. Yep. Then we cut to the trick-or-treating. And Ethan is doing his spell. I do like that Willow, she's at this little old lady's. They're at this little old lady's house as the lady's like handing them candy. that it's like the kids turn into their costumes as that's happening. And the one fucking kid
they try to kill an old lady, and that honestly, I'm there to chaperone the kids. I'm not there to stop them from murdering old ladies. You know,
that one got me when the actual switch happened. That one got me because sometimes Buffy goes a little hard even for Buffy, and you're like, oh god, somebody just died in front of me. Like that. I thought that was going to happen in that moment because I just forgot. I'm like, oh god, a child's going to murder an elderly. It's going to happen.
And then Willow fully dies. Dies.
Yes.
Thank you. Correct. Like Buffy's always like, I've died twice, and I'm like, well, Willow died once.
When does she get to bring that up? Yeah, that's the writing that is missing from the entire series. Is there should have been some sort of line. Well, I've died too.
Because she literally chokes to death. She can't breathe. She says it. She says, I can't breathe, and then dies. And I'm like, oh shit.
We all forgot about that. Just never bring it up again.
Genuinely drops dead on this elderly woman's porch. We get Xander in the road, and we do get like a silly, wacky noise that happens to be like, oh, now everyone's changing their costume. I kind of fucking like it. I'm into it.
His posture changes too during his transition, right?
I will fully own up to this. Xander does it for me. I will.
Oh my goodness.
It does. Yep. I'm sorry. Thank
Lick
you.
that boot. Lick you.
Excuse me.
My husband's in the army. I can say.
Yeah.
and that's lovely. We had a not safe for work chat right before. Not with that. That's awful. We had a discussion about not safe for work allocations of chats. I'm going to stop talking.
Misha, what did you sign into? And me and Hammy were saying like, oh, when people are something about like being horny, right?
Exactly. I signed on to the podcast chat, listening to the first two to arrive, talking about the nature of not safe for work chats online. There I am an articulate human. See,
and I got into the chat, and I think somebody's cat was choking on a mouse. So we all had a journey getting here.
Sure. I'm also guilty of that. So I'm really just a troublemaker here.
I don't know. Xander's never done it for me, even when he's it's never hit for me.
What about the episode where he's in a Speedo?
Yeah. No,
still nothing. Nothing. Not a tingle.
Not for Xander. No.
Wow.
Very flaccid.
Well, you're better than the rest of us, Zachary. Fine.
Proud of you.
I'm really
proud of you.
Zach is very good at knowing my taste in men, and I still can never nail down Zach's taste in men. It's like a fucking mystery. And I feel like that's impressive, Zach. Like,
I just love men, just in general, all over the place.
Misha, what were you going to add?
I was just saying, you mean besides his husband? Like, what do you, like?
No, right, but I mean, like, when we're watching a movie, when we're, like, covering something, Zach will be like, oh, yeah, that person was hot. And I'm like, what, really? And, like,
sure. You didn't qualify. You acted as if there was no clues around you. You're helpless. I'm like...
I do know what that husband looks like. But so, okay, we get, Zach, where are we?
Everybody's turning into their costumes. We got Buffy over here turning into a princess. Xander's turned into an army man. Willow died, had the most traumatic night of all, and turned into a ghost. I love that it reminded me that we have two moments where Buffy is terrified of cars in the show. She's a cave woman, and then when she's a princess, cars and Buffy just don't go together. That's a common thread throughout this entire series.
And I like how this all comes together. Like, I like the chaos of it all coming together. I mean, it's very convenient they're all on the same street, but I don't know. I just really like that, like, it's first Willow sees Xander, then they see Buffy, and, like, everyone's at 100% too in this scene. Like, I like Xander, like, Army Man Xander's confused because, like, he's like a person in modern day, but he's not Xander. Willow is just ghost version of herself. So she's very much herself. And like Buffy, I just really like the, like, it's not a demon, it's a car. What does it want? Is this woman insane? Like,
I love that. So Buffy spends the episode, right, like daydreaming about being this like dainty damsel in distress princess, right? And not having to be the Slayer. Well, when she is this dainty damsel in distress, it's like, it's not like, oh, she's so cute. Is this woman insane?
Yeah. And so they like, what is it? Then she decides that they'll hide out at Buffy's house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joyce isn't there. She's at Pat's house.
Right, yeah. Conveniently, Joyce is not home.
Yeah,
Because
I was going to say, like, did she just not get contracted for the episode? Like, she was absolutely gone.
Misha, it's funny that you say that because
they spent too much money on the dress.
I feel like, right, Zach, Summer's always bringing that up when we're talking Angel. She'll be like, that person probably had a contract for an extra episode. That's why they're here.
Yeah. This is the golden age of, like, serialized television. People, this is all business.
So they go back to the house. And Willow kind of has to take charge here. And I feel like this is the first time we see Willow, like, very much stepping it up, right?
I really enjoyed the small aside where she was like, Buffy couldn't have dressed up as Xena or something.
Yes. Like, I think that is like it's a reference that could have made the show feel like it was collapsing in on itself, but it does not. Like, it feels fun.
It somehow works, yeah.
Yeah, like, right, it works, even though I think Xena was, like, still on the air at this point.
They were a step away, because had they mentioned, like, Callisto or something, it'd have fallen apart. But because it was Xena, it works.
Yeah, no, I think that's, like, the iconic line from this episode. And I like that Willow's exhausted, too. Like, she's, like, so immediately exhausted, because everyone is just doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Because it's like she's got children, all on leashes, and she's trying to hold them all back, right? And Xander's like firing at children with guns, and Buffy's running away from vehicles, It's like a stressful night for her. And then everybody starts showing up at this house, right?
Yeah. Then Xander goes and saves Cordelia. I love everything with Cordelia dealing with them, too. And I think it was so smart to make, like, Willow and Cordelia have to be the ones that are, like, kind of, like, wrangling everyone. Like, I like later on when she's talking to Giles and he's like, oh, Cordelia turned into a cat person. She's like, oh no, she didn't get a costume the same way we did or whatever. And, like, I don't know. I love that when, like, Buffy says, like, oh, surely the men will save us. And Cordelia's like, what's that riff? Like, what? Like, she's so over it. I love it.
Yeah.
And when Angel is, like, not caught up, right? But we need to catch him up real quick. And she just walks by him and is like, yeah, she doesn't know who she is. She's a princess now,
And then she goes, and how are you doing? I love that.
She's the Slayer when it comes to dating. Remember that.
Keeps her fucking eyes on the prize, and I appreciate that.
Oh my god.
I feel like that would somehow be us, Zachary. You'd be like, Ian, what are you doing? I'd be like, I'm flirting with this cute guy. Hold on. Like, we will fight these demons in a minute.
I'd be like, our friend is shooting at children right now, Ian. We're like, calm down, okay? Let's figure this out. So we're cutting back and forth between the house, right? We're cutting back and forth between everybody starts showing up at the house. Angel starts showing up at the house.
Right.
And Willow goes to find Giles and let him know what's going on.
And we see Spike. He's like,
I was just going to say, doesn't Spike come in at some point now?
Right. Yeah, because he sees them and he's like, he sees everyone like freaking out and he's just like walking down the street. And I think he says something like, oh, this is neat. And that's when he gets the idea to like attack Buffy.
Sure.
Misha, I'm gonna do a super cut. I want, like, Ashley do a super cut of all your. Yeah, sure.
No, I again, this is just me and Carl having a silent conversation. I'm just like, oh, okay, Carl.
He's a lot. Poor Carl, man. Carl needs a letter. We need to write him something. Figure out what was happening here.
You could get him on the show. Get him on the show.
I bet. Not after this episode.
Yeah, no. God.
Carl, if you're listening, I do want to hear your side of the story.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
What was the Carl cut? I want to know the Carl cut.
Release the Carl cut.
So Cordelia says, I always think this is funny when she's like, who died and made her boss? And then we see that Willow, who has died, walks through the wall to go to Giles. Yeah, and so we get her going into the library, and I like when I don't know. I love Giles, and I love him, like, him being scared because she walked through the wall, and then him being like, what is your costume exactly? Like, he's like literally just asked it, and she's like, you should see Cordelia, and he's like, okay. Like,
and Cordelia makes more sense. We're still asking what Willow is.
Yeah.
25 years later, 25th anniversary, everybody. What is Willow's costume?
What does Giles says, like, what are you dressed up as? And she says a ghost, and he says the ghost of what?
Yeah.
Like that. And it's just so
good. Because same question.
Same, yep.
So, like, I forget how they get there. Oh, because Willow says the name of the costume shop, right? She's like, oh, Cordelia didn't get her costume from Ethan's, and she didn't turn into her costume. And that, sends off Giles's, like, whatever, where he's like, oh,
Ethan who? What Ethan? What does he look like?
Is he a kind of sexy old man?
Is he kind of is he British? Yeah, and then we go to Ethan's, right? We're on our way to Ethan's, and Spike and his whole gang jumps out, and 18th century Buffy is scared, she can't fight Spike like this.
Oh, right, because I was going to say, wait, how do we get there? Because demons got in the house and Buffy saw Angel's vamp face, and so she ran out. So they
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Right. Because then we get that beat again where she's still running away from Angel, and Cordelia says, oh, she's got this thing where she thinks you're a good vampire. She thinks you're a vampire. And then Cordelia says to like Buffy in her princess outfit, like, no, he's a good vampire. He would never hurt us.
She still prefers the man with the musket, though.
She does.
Yeah, the man with the musket.
Can we talk about Sarah's acting in this just for a second? I love, throughout the series, she plays all of these different versions of Buffy, but I love when she plays the because she's not doing Final Girl, but she's doing like horror movie girl, right?
Right.
And this is very much, I don't know. There's a thread between this and like Helen Shivers a little bit. I see the same sort of like acting beats that she's doing, and I love when she does this little shtick so much.
Yeah. I mean, I think she pulls it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will say, this is jumping around a little bit, but it really threw me. So is the 90s the 20th century? Is that how that works?
Yes.
So
the 18th century would be the 1700s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. So when everything is, again, spoiler, like all resolved, Buffy is like, back to 20th century me. That like threw me. I'm like, oh, because we hadn't entered the 21st century yet.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
I'm there with you. Sometimes it takes me an extra second. I gotta think about it. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
Get confused when I see the 20th century Fox on,
Yeah.
Oh my God, Ian, these young people that you bring onto the podcast.
Are you kidding?
I was dreaming about Buffy summers. Okay, I wasn't in school thinking about the 19th and 20th centuries.
Are you kidding? I was like, do I know the answer to this question? I'll let everyone talk it out. I don't know.
Oh my God,
I'll figure it out.
God, this is where I get a little.
Because it's the Buffy Spike fight, right? Like he starts kind of like, I don't know, the whole everybody's in a fight at this point.
Right. Xander beats up Larry, who was turned into a pirate. Says that was oddly gratifying to beat up that pirate. And then they kind of get cornered in this alley. At the same time that who is confronting Ethan Rayne, Misha?
Who is confronting Ethan? Wait, what is this a trick question?
No, it's not.
I feel like I'm in school too.
Oh, is it Giles?
Yes,
it Giles? Okay, I was just like, oh no,
Giles
I'm no longer the favorite
versus Ethan Rayne.
Yes,
which was I agree with the previously stated statements. Yes, it's a very horny interaction.
Right? Yeah, it feels like just feels like there's a lot that's like unsaid, but like we get it, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so Giles is like, and Giles gets pretty brutal, which I do like seeing. Like, I like that when one of the cuts we get to him, it's like Ethan Rayne has been like, is beaten up on the floor, and Giles is just like polishing his glasses. Like, no big deal.
Also hot.
So good.
They've done that before. That dance has been done plenty of times before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
In their past. It's just sexy game they do. Okay.
Sexy game, Jesus. And so we get he smashes the head, and Hammy, what line does Buffy say to Spike?
So good.
Honey, I'm home.
Hot.
And it's so good.
Yeah, so good.
I love this.
It's her, like, you don't really have, you get kind of blue-balled if you don't have a line like that from Buffy, and we got it, and I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, like we need the like superhero line of her like being a little shitty, and like I just love seeing the thing that Sarah Michelle Gellar also does really well is like Buffy's confidence. And like, we go from her in that like big wig screaming, being this like princess, to like her kicking the shit out of Spike and being like, I'm bad.
She can do it all. And I love when she lifts up and the wig just kind of like falls off.
Yeah.
But like the best way they could have done it, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that's like a perfect moment to like, we don't need her taking it off. Just have it like fall off when she sits up. That's fine. That's like, it's just Buffy does those moments really well. The character and the show like do those kind of moments really well.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I will point out is this is one of many times where it is like, why didn't she kill Spike? Right? Like, it feels like this would have been a perfect time to kill him.
Because as we, the fans, watch Spike just get to live from season to season to season until he's like fan favorite, I feel like the characters did that as well, where they just watch Spike jump from season to season to season, and the writers like accidentally writing him from season to season to season because they need him for the end of this season, right? So like, we'll keep him around. We'll just keep him around, right? And then season 3, they're like, oh, it's Spike, yeah, he's still here. Season 4, oh, Spike, we forgot to kill Spike. Well, he's here, and he just keeps going. He survived.
And also just like, let's play into the logic I'm sure they want us to play into at this point. There are children now. The demons have turned back into children. She has to, A, ideally not traumatize them with the death, and B, get them back home.
Well, yes, they've been running around, haven't they? I didn't even think about that. They've been running around, and some of them are coming to in places they don't know. They like to pretend that Sunnydale is a small town, but it's massive. It is a big town, and they're waking up in alleyways, and they're 12 years old.
I was gonna say, this is an oddly large town if you really think about the scope of Buffy. Like, there's full on like downtown areas.
Yeah, because like I am in the suburbs right now. There is not like a downtown and then a whatever for like a small suburban town.
Like where is the Bronze? Where is it?
Right.
In this small town.
There's a lot of alleys in this small town. Yeah, I mean, and so then we also get Cordelia still having her eyes on the prize when like, what is it that she says when she's like, I forget what Buffy says to Angel, and like they're talking and she tries to interject and like no one acknowledges her. And I appreciate someone who's like, never a time not to flirt. I appreciate it.
Sure.
She's gotta do it.
She's gotta. And then we see like everyone walks home. I like when they're like, where's Willow? And it's because she was a dead ghost and she went back to her body.
So this makes sense, right? That she would just like go back, but because I'm questioning. I'm like, why wouldn't she just stay dead? Because she died. Is that a resurrection?
Okay.
You know what?
This is a good question.
You know what? We're gonna pull the Marvel. We're gonna pull the Marvel thing. Chaos magic, multiverse. Shut your face.
Big damn deal when Buffy comes back to life. But Willow's just got to reverse a spell, I guess. This is the Willow episode. I freaking love her. I love her tossing the ghost costume off to the side, and just walking down the damn street.
Mm-hmm. And like then we get Oz. He's like driving, and he's like, "Who is that girl?" And like it's cute that's like a slow build to their eventual like meet, and they don't meet until What's My Line, I think, part 1, when they're in that classroom together for like the like gifted kids or whatever. But I also feel like that's like a unlike Buffy thing to do, the way they're introducing Oz. Like we don't really get a character with Riley. I guess we do with Riley a little bit when he like we see his point of view even when he's not part of the group. Like we do see a little bit of Riley.
They do that a few times throughout the series. It's just more. I think with Oz, it's done in such a way that he is. I think Seth Green is just really memorable too, right? So I think it's the Seth Green of it all is that we've got our eye on him and we're like fixated on him, and so we're going to remember his little moments that he keeps popping up in.
Yeah, no, and I really like Seth Green on Buffy. So yes, I agree. And then we get Buffy and Angel making out at the end, and then Giles finds out who has escaped, Tammy.
And now it's my turn to say, is that a trick question?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to this either. What?
Everybody get your clickers out.
It must be Ethan. It's Ethan.
Yes,
it's Ethan, right?
You got it.
Ethan Rayne has got away, baby.
Michael,
do you bring all of your guests on here to trap them?
It's always terrifying when he asks the question, like, where are we at? What line was said? I'm like, fucking hell, man. I've got my notes in front of me, too. I'm like scrolling real fast, trying to
It's just particularly bad when the answer is obvious. Like, it's only been Giles and Ethan this whole time. It's like, who does Giles walk in on, Misha? And it's like,
It's just the initial. I was like, Ian, was my hand raised? Do I have my hand raised? Mr. Carlos Crawford.
I was going to say, wait a minute. We have the hand raise function in this handy app that we're recording in. You're just being mean. You're just being rude.
Welcome to Slayerfest 98.
This is a hate crime.
I'm your host and bully, Ian Carlos Crawford.
I have a lot of school trauma. Calling on me without my hand raised does not sit well with me. It does not go well. It's just a little shock because I got to scroll through my phone and find where I am in my notes.
But okay, so we are at the end. Favorite scene, Zachary?
I like Willow discarding the ghost costume and walking through the street. Right. I think it's a good visual, and I always think about it when I hear the episode title.
All right, Misha.
Boys are so fragile.
Fair. Hammy.
We didn't talk about. I don't think we talked about it, but I like the scene with Giles and Willow in the library, and she can't turn the pages.
Oh yeah, I do. That is a funny bit when she's like, she says something and she's like, and I also can't even turn the pages. Like, I do think that's like,
it's so good.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
My favorite scene is I like everything in the house when they're in the Summers house. Like, I like Willow being like trying to dress up as Xena, Cordelia being annoyed at helpless Buffy, but also still trying to flirt with Angel. Like, I love all that shit.
It's really it's always awesome when they're all like locked in the house and and there's people trying to get in, right?
Yeah,
that always works in the show.
Yeah, the cast works really well together in like stuff like that, where it's like, ooh, we're trapped, and we're gonna have a lot of like fun dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite outfit, Misha?
I mean, Willow, because you're asking me first, and I'm gonna claim it. Willow.
Damn it,
Hammy, and we can have repeats. That's perfectly fine.
You're just gonna be unoriginal if you do, but it's fine.
Yes, get him. No, mine is while watching when they're in the school, Buffy turns around and there's a big Dolce & Gabbana tag on the back of her tank top. So I tried to look it up, and it's like a $350 tank top, and apparently her pants were like $700. So girl was wearing like $1,000 before taxes in Dolce & Gabbana. So
I love it.
School outfit.
I did notice that.
And she can't afford the princess dress.
Right.
Well, that's why.
Yeah, she spent all the money on that.
Sure.
Zachary?
Well, Ashley, I want you to edit me saying this first. Willow's double-time ghost costume.
Listen, we are allowed to have doubles. My favorite outfit is a tie between Cordy's cat costume and Willow's sexy outfit because they both look great. And I wish I looked like that in either of those costumes because they look great. Now we get to our little segment that I keep forgetting to fucking do for these 25th anniversary episodes.
We have a segment. What is happening here?
I think I forgot to prepare you for this, Zachary, so you will go last. Don't worry.
Alrighty, okay.
What would Dawn have been doing in this episode, Hammy?
Oh boy. If Dawn existed in this episode, Joyce would have been like, you aren't allowed to go out because you're going to do something terrible with your little shitty teenage friends, so you have to give out candy. But Dawn has secretly invited all of her friends to the house, and then when Buffy and everyone arrives, mischief ensues.
Oh, see, you thought it out. I'm proud of you.
I got this one.
Flexing that big brain of yours.
Yes.
Misha.
Can you hear the gears turning on my end? Like, I'm gonna speak in generalities. Dawn is gonna get mad about something really small, like lipstick level small, and she's gonna do something really big, like open up a portal to another dimension, because that's what her tantrums always evolve into.
Oh my god.
I kind of wouldn't be mad if my tantrums could evolve into that.
Sure.
I think Dawn would have been turned into like a cartoon character. Like, she would have had a costume that was like, I don't know that they would have been able to have an actual brand cartoon character. So it would have been like off-brand cartoon, and she would have had like really ridiculous makeup, but been stuck with the Scoobies the whole time as whatever cartoon character that made her like extra annoying. Zachary.
That's cute. I've thought about this. I got it. Okay. And then I have like a silly answer right after too. Dawn dresses up like the Exorcist. And she's upstairs when they all gather into the house, and she's the surprise coming down the stairs, Exorcist style, that they have to like keep Xander from shooting. You know,
Jesus Christ!
I like that. I think that's a good touch. Or she's one of the little demon children who almost choked out the old lady. One of those. Yeah. One of those.
All right. Well, what grade do we give the episode, Hammy?
I will go with a B+. I think I would have given it an A, but I like hearing all of you talk about it and kind of pick it apart a little. So I'm going B+.
All right.
It is
Misha?
one of my favorite episodes, though.
So if it's one of your favorite episodes, don't let us tell you
Well, it's not my favorite, so my favorite's obviously an A+. My second favorite is obviously an A, and it trickles down.
See, my top 20 would all be A's for Buffy. Misha, what grade do you give the episode?
I will give it a B-, but if Carl comes on the show and talks and defends his thesis, I'll upgrade it all the way to an A-.
All right.
Yeah.
We need a Carl cut of this where we take out all the bad stuff about Carl, but leave in all the good stuff, and then we upload that one just for Carl.
Oh no, Carl is canceling his Patreon subscription to Slayerfest 98. He was already here.
He's like, fuck these mean queers. Zachary, what grade do you give it?
All the Halloween episodes get an A+ for me. I love them all, and there weren't enough of them. So
yeah, I'm also A+. I think I love this episode. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Zachary, for co-hosting this with me. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to us on Patreon, where we are finished Harley Quinn Season 2. We've done Firefly. We're finishing What If Season 1. Eventually, we'll be moving on to Harley Quinn Season 3. And any and all support is much appreciated. If you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98. If you want to follow me, I am at IanXCarlos everywhere. Hammy, where can everyone find you?
My day-to-day life and a bit of my cosplay you can find at Instagram at Hammy73, or if you want just my cosplay, you can find me at michael.ham.cosplay. And if you want to hear the ramblings of a person who's only obsessed with X-Men and My Chemical Romance, you can find me at Twitter at onlyham73.
That's funny. That's a funny Twitter handle.
Thank you.
Misha, where can everyone find you?
I am at Misha Osherovich on all platforms. I am exceedingly vain, so I promise you that the only remotely interesting content is on Instagram.
Zach, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Zammy73. No, just kidding.
TM.
If you search Adventures of Zach and B, or My Bloody Judy, or Coffee Tequila, I will pop up somewhere.
All right, well, we will see you all next time. Bye, and happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.
Boo!
Oh, God.